Many years ago we had done a paddling trip on the Lower Zambezi, and I just thought it would be a good idea to build a couple of boats for doing game viewing trips that you could just sleep out on the boats and do the same kind of a trip with a little bit more comfort. So that's what these first boats were built for. I came to Zambia about 9 years ago. Our core business is steel fabrication, but after we've been here a few years, a guy brought in an aluminium boat, a little tinny that was pretty badly bashed up, and we welded it up for him. And then a little while later somebody brought in an engine that had the cavitation plate knocked off of it, and we fixed that up for him. And a little boat related industry just started growing all on its own there. We are going to produce a standard range of boats going probably 15, 18, 21 and 25 footer. And then modular barges. So the motivation behind it is that every boat here in Zambia is imported. There's nobody building tinnies here in Zambia, and there might as well be. The benefits of aluminium is simply that aluminium is very easy to fix. If you crash into a rock, you won't put a hole in these boats very easily because it's a 5083 H111 aluminium. It's very hard, it's very strong. But if you do happen to put a hole in it, you just pull it out and weld it. So for the river, aluminium is the answer in my opinion.
We didn't bring any champagne?
Steel is very strong too, but steel's got a weight issue. Steel weighs 3 times what aluminium weighs, so at least the right stuff.
Damn Yamahas.
This trip we've just done was a test run. We're going to see firstly the performance of the boats, endurance of the engines, how far we can go, and fuel consumption and endurance. We actually ended up getting the boats here completely untested. 2 brand new boats that have never been in the water and 2 brand new engines that have never been started. So this was the big test. The idea was to do the first day going upstream just because everything was brand new. And if we had any issue with one of the engines or so on, it's a lot easier to drift back downstream than to try and paddle upstream.
I am down here on the Zambezi River because my father Alan has been building these amazing L-craft riverboats. So myself and my mother and a few of our friends decided to come to Zambia to help him test drive them and see how they fare on the Zambezi River. And so far it's been a great success.
The boats are actually a lot of fun to be on. You can wander around on them, so you don't have to stay sitting in the same position all the time, which is quite nice. And I got a chance to drive the boat too, which I've never done before, and that was brilliant fun.
Many years ago, Alan and I did the canoe trip from Kariba to Moana. That was super lucky. So, we were young and strong when we paddled the canoes, and now we're older and not as strong, so we put motors on the back. Lets us take more beer, lets us take plenty of grub, lets us take creature comforts, and you still get pretty much the same experience. That's cool.
He caught a fish. Oh my goodness.
That's a tiger.
The real thing of the Lower Zambezi is just the size and the character of the river and the massive concentration of wildlife. Game doesn't seem to get very spooked by boats, so you can pretty much get right up close and you get some very good sightings, and you're not working very hard to do it, so I think it's pretty cool.
On the river, that's where you see much animals than on land, on the game drive.
With the wildlife, a lot of it comes down to the rivers to drink, and particularly this time of the year, the valley is very dry, so you get good concentrations of game on the river itself. Being on the boat, you've also got a section of open space between the water and the bush. When you're in a vehicle, you're very often looking directly into thick bush. So you do, I think, see better game from a boat, and you can also just turn the engine off and let the boat drift. And then you can kind of sneak up on things. It's hard to do that when you've got a a vehicle to get it started to move.
Being on the boat, it's more safer also. You can go close to them and get some shot from there.
We've been cruising up and down the Zambezi and we've seen an unbelievable amount of game, from hippos, elephants, crocodiles. We've seen leopard, monkeys, warthogs, bushbucks. We had some elephants taking a bath in the river right next to us yesterday. We even saw an albino hippo, which happened to be sunburnt, so it was pink. We saw a pink hippo. Not something that you will experience in a standard game reserve. Yeah, an experience you'll only have out in the bush, the real bush.
We saw more hippo than I've ever seen before on land. I've never seen hippo on land before. So there were lots in the water, masses on land, and elephant everywhere. And then we were lucky enough to see a leopard kill. And up in the tree, above the mother, there was a movement, and the guide got us to look up, and there was this little teeny fluffy leopard cub. And that was like the best thing ever. That was a once in a lifetime experience.
The ellies and stuff here are so sociable that we saw the best stuff when we pulled up, sat down and waited. They came to us.
We stopped and had lunch, and we had elephant come down in the water, and the one went across to an island, and it was just like he was on a mission and he was just off. Then two more elephant came down, and they kind of just plopped around in the water around between us and a pod of hippos. And then we saw this little croc, and he was kind of like just drifting along and checking things out, and we wondered what was going to happen. And they weren't fussed by us at all. But this little croc, he hung around because we saw him a bit more whilst we were busy cooking our lunch. And then he went off to probably bother the hippos. Ooh, and then we didn't finish all of our food. And a kite came and swooped down to take it. And it made a couple of attempts.
What chicken?
There's always stuff to see. And when you think that there's not, you just goofing off and you can have a beer or a gin and tonic. And the mountains in the background just create an incredible backdrop.
Any day you go into a park and you get the ellies and you get the buffalo and you get the impala and you get the baboons and you get the waterbuck, and then you drive off and you see a leopard with her cub. I mean, that's the first day. How do you beat it?
The idea of sleeping on the boats and having a cooker on the boats means that you can use the whole day, basically. And I don't know if it's everybody's cup of tea, but I kind of like it. I'm perfectly comfortable sleeping on the boats with an inflatable mattress.
There you come, big one.
Being able to cook your supper and have a few cold beers at night and to sleep without having to actually set up a camp saves quite a bit of time. I think it's one way of doing it, and the other way for people that want a little bit more luxury would be to just pre-book in lodges along the way. So that's the other option, is you just travel slowly by boat down the river, game viewing all day long and fishing and doing whatever you want, and then you just pull in at a lodge in the evening, stay over at a lodge and then continue the trip the next day.
Sleeping under the open sky is nice. And hearing just all the noises when everything has been switched off. Last night we heard hyena.
And if you came along as a guest and you were looked after, it'd be phenomenal. You sit back, put your feet up, relax, and you get to see a spectacular valley. You get to see an amazing amount of wildlife. The bird life is phenomenal. And you can do it all while you're drinking a G&T or a beer. What more do you want in life?
The Lower Zambezi has always been one of my favourite places on earth.
Amakalewa